guys, welcome to Japanoblog. Today we're actually going to be talking about why we've decided to go to Japan. Why Japan? Why do we want to go to Japan?
Well, between the two of us, we have quite a few reasons.
God.
Yeah, to put it simply. The first and foremost is what?
Jobs.
Jobs, really.
We'll put it this way. It is very hard to find jobs in America right now.
And
Very hard.
And regardless of whatever profession you have, teaching, mechanics, programming, well, anything, it's really hard to find a job, especially if you're in a very rural area. If you're in a city or a metro, not a problem. You're outside of that, yeah, forget it, you're not getting one.
Even if you live in a metro area or a big city, the issue that you're going to run into is even if you have a degree, you will probably for a while be stuck with a very crap paying job essentially.
Yeah, retail or service, that's it.
Yeah. If you look at many jobs nowadays, you will find that even entry-level positions want like 3 to 5 years of experience. You have to be good at like Microsoft Office, the latest one. The list just actually gets ridiculous for what is technically considered an entry-level job, which is what most people just graduating from college are looking for, which Kyle graduated in 2009 when the economy bubble burst. Really bad timing. I graduated in 2014. And up here, it was just really hard finding a job where you weren't at McDonald's, which I've done, or doing retail, like Kyle has done.
Now, back when I was unemployed, I applied for over 110 jobs. I first started out looking for kind of jobs in my field, programming jobs, web jobs. After like the 50th no, I finally said, you know what, I'll take any job I can get. I applied for stocker, I applied for dishwasher, I applied for cashier, anything I could get. Still no's. Out of 110 jobs, I only got 2 yeses.
And this was while I was in my senior year at Western, so I watched him go through these job applications and realized with the fact that we have the same degree, as you can figure out in our introduction video of us, we weren't going to have a very good time finding jobs. The other thing we run into is the fact that we have degrees in entrepreneurship, which, like I said before, you can start your own business, you can run your own business. Being in Waynesville, which, how do we put this? You have to fit a certain niche to even open a business.
And the majority of the time it's either beer or crafts. That's about it.
Or tourism.
Or tourism if you can do that.
Yeah, and even if you don't start a business in tourism, you can get a job in tourism, but that's tourism. It's seasonal. We've got Catalucci Ski Resort nearby. That only works in the winter. We've got Ghost Town. That closes for the winter. So that only works in the summer. You see where our issues lie. I mean, if we were to move back to Raleigh, kind of where we came from, we could have job growth and we'd have job opportunities. But it's not working here where we are. And we're hoping the next president, or Bernie, actually fixes a lot of this for the future. And I will say, if Trump ever gets in office, run for the hills.
We don't mean Alaska.
No, that's still America.
Yeah.
All right, number 2.
The culture.
Oh my God.
Now, the culture for America is great. You have 200 and some odd years of great history, quote unquote.
Let's make America great again.
But the culture in Japan is just so rich. There's so much more to offer. There are thousands of years of history to draw upon. And again, back when I went in 2008, it was just so much more fun to be around and surrounded by the Japanese culture than it is American culture.
A lot of why we find the culture so fascinating, we will admit, probably has to do with the fact that it's different. And a lot of people will probably say that they love a country for their culture, and it's probably going to be along the same ideas. It's different than what we have here, therefore we find it more fascinating. But that's why we find Japan so fascinating. And America's got a great culture in its own right because we are such a huge melting pot. So there are a lot of different backgrounds that's settled here to create America. But you study it a lot and we just want to study something different. We're constant learners, and this is going to be like a big old classroom. We have an entire nation to go study.
Now, she's the history buff. I know next to nothing about history, like when the War of 1812 was. I'm not kidding.
A lot of people really don't know when that was.
But overall, I fell asleep in history class. I fell asleep learning about the American Revolution because I just didn't care. But going over to Japan, looking at their history, looking at their culture, looking at how much stuff they have to offer, I just couldn't get enough of it.
And again, it will have to be the fact that it is different than what we've studied here in America. But it's something we're interested in. It's weird. It's like we're interested just in Japan, not China, not Korea, though they're interesting.
Yeah.
It's strictly just Japan for some reason. And I think that kind of has to do with where our mindset has kind of morphed to recently, and we'll kind of get into that in a couple of other topics that we're going to discuss here in a second.
Okay.
But culture, really big. We want to go. That's one thing we actually want to document while we're there.
Which we will.
A lot. You're going to see so many videos. We've actually got an idea for you guys to participate with later, which we'll discuss later.
To be determined.
Yes, to be determined.
Alright.
Number 3, food.
Food!
Oh my god, the food. Oh, I am a foodie. I love food.
To put it simply, you think of ramen as the stuff that comes in little plastic package you get at the store for like 10 cents.
It's a cheapo college food.
Yeah, which isn't a problem. But the ramen in Japan, oh jeez, there's no comparison. It is completely different, so rich, so savory, so flavorful. I actually want a bowl of ramen right now. But the stuff here, the stuff in the little plastic packages, it's a great college food. But that's it. It's a great low cost, high sodium, cheap food. That's it. You go over to Japan, you get the pork cutlet, you get the noodles, you get the greenery, you get the egg, you get the fish cake, you get so much more.
Now what actually we're really going to be covering, especially in Japan of Foods, which is where the food will be stuck if you have trouble finding these videos later. What you will find in Japan is ramen is a national food, just like donburi and tempura and all these other dishes that all of Japan happens to have. But what you're gonna find is the fact that every prefecture, every region of Japan is going to do it differently. Like if you're gonna go down to Okinawa, you're gonna find very light tasting food because Okinawa is actually the very tropical part of Japan. Unlike if you go to Hokkaido, where the food's gonna be a lot more rich and a lot more savory because it's cold and you want that.
Number 4, the people.
We find a lot of the Asian cultures and people to be very fascinating because they think so differently than we do.
The whole point is, by going over to Japan and being introduced to the Japanese people, we find that the people themselves take pride in their work. In America, we're trying to do the fastest job possible and get paid the most. Over there, pay is, again, stereotypically irrelevant. They want to do their job the best they can. They take pride in their work, they take pride in themselves, and if they need to sacrifice a few extra hours to get the job done, they will. Here, as soon as 5 o'clock hits, you want to head home, and that's it. End of job, doesn't matter anything else.
Now, obviously, one of the bad stereotypes that you're probably going to see when people discuss Japanese in the workplace is obviously they spend too much time at work.
It's actually common for Japanese workers to fall asleep in the office, and it's considered a compliment, whereas here, you'd get your butt fired.
Yep. Pretty much, it's saying, oh, I've been putting in all the extra hours, I need to lay my head down. But again, that comes across negatively just because the work culture is so different, because a lot of the times they stay over because they want to put the extra effort into whatever project they're working on, which will then get them, obviously money is important because they have to survive or else it wouldn't work.
And just a quick snippet, after the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, a lot of local businesses in Japan were destroyed. Now in America we would say, well, you know what, we did our best and that's not good enough, so let's go somewhere else. Instead, a lot of the people in Japan stayed where they were and recovered the businesses.
If they could.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the same thing that happened after 300 or 400 years of growth, but the fact that they stayed there, they were determined to get that business up and going again.
A lot of that also probably has to deal with their mentality of not giving up so easily. But we'll get into that later. I think we're actually going to try and take a trip up to Sendai, where the earthquake and tsunami happened, and just do a little video up there based on everything. But it's obviously going to be a lot different than if you watch anything from their pre-2011 to even what it is now.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see. And I will admit this much, the Japanese government is doing a lot more than our government would have done. As we saw with Katrina. Enough said.
We won't go into that.
That's just a mess. Number 5. This has actually been a big dream of ours for a very long time.
Now, we're not talking like, a few months or so. We've actually been looking at going to Japan and kind of making that more of a permanent thing for almost, say, 10 years or so, if not more.
The more permanency of us wanting to move there has come a little bit more recently, but we have actually been interested in Japan and the culture and all that other stuff for about 11 to 12 years, even a little bit more.
Now, some of you are saying, hey, you guys are only so old, and based on the fact that 11 to 12 years ago, even 16 years ago, anime came out. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were the big thing. No, we're not Japanaholics. We do not like Japan just for anime. We are not Japanaholics.
If you can figure out how old we are based on those shows he just named, good job. Nijunana.
The fact that we've been interested in this for, a decade plus, just the fact that there are so many things that we want to go see, so many things we want to do, so many things we want to experience. And it's more than just, the sum of its parts.
Strangely enough, we both kind of have a travel bug that we want to travel. We do really want to travel. And the fact that obviously we can't find jobs up here is a whole other story, and that doesn't lend to traveling when you don't have the money to do it. Considering the fact that Japan in itself is part of a larger culture in Asia and they all kind of feed off of each other, Japan's actually kind of going to be a launching point for a couple of trips that we want to do, which won't be a bad thing. We'll get to see the similarities, but we're also going to see the differences. The fact that the dream is now materializing, hell, even a lot sooner than we thought it was, it's just kind of a kick in the ass, pardon the language. If you're young, please don't watch. But a couple of months ago we were talking, and it's like, we realized we had to get out of this area. We weren't finding jobs. And even if we had a family in the future that involved two-legged children, it wouldn't work because of so many problems. Now, we're not saying that we will never come back. Japan might not become permanent. We want it to. But America's not out of the question. We just want something different for a while because we're tired of this place. And the fact that we've both traveled so much, well, not really traveled, more moved when we were younger, we really don't have a place to call home. But as of right now, a lot of the other things driving us are the culture and the people. And the fact that we can get jobs. By the way, back on jobs really quick. The easiest job that you can get to get into Japan, teach English.
Now, some of you may think, well, I don't want to teach English, but really, as far as an American or any other nationality that knows English, to go to Japan, the easiest job to get from overseas is to teach English. If that is a launching point to something else, then hey, let it be that.
We'll kind of go over another video about teaching English in Japan and how easy it is to actually get a job over there.
Yeah.
Other than that, this is why Japan. This is why we want to go. And hopefully you're with us during this crazy journey.
And if there's anything that we haven't mentioned that you think would be great, let us know in the comments or on the blog post, and we may follow up with a video with some other ideas and topics.
Yep. We'll also cover this again at a later date once we've been there. Because, I mean, obviously it's different saying it here in America versus there in Japan.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you do start a conversation down in the comment box, please keep it friendly. I don't want any bashing down there. So, that's it for this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Yep. What are you doing?
I don't know. We're gonna cut that one.
Okay.